I'm standing in my childhood bedroom at 2 a.m, my hands literally shaking as I tear through my desk drawers for the third time tonight, because somewhere in this house is my Harvard Medical School acceptance letter, and I'm starting to think I'm losing my mind. 3 months. 3 months I've been waiting for that letter, checking the mailbox every single day like some obsessed stalker, and nothing. My parents keep telling me to be patient, that mail gets delayed, but I can feel it in my bones that something is wrong. The rejection letters from other schools have been piling up on my desk like a monument to failure. Stanford, Johns Hopkins, Yale, all those backup schools I thought I'd never actually need. But Harvard was different. Harvard was supposed to be my redemption, my proof that 12 years of studying until my eyes bled actually meant something. I'm pulling books off my shelf now, desperate because that letter has to be here somewhere. And if it's not, then I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. That's when I hear her footsteps in the hallway, those slow, deliberate steps that I know belong to my sister Emma, and something about the way she's walking makes my skin crawl. The door creaks open, and there she is, leaning against the door frame with this expression on her face that I've never seen before. Not quite a smile, but something cold and calculating that makes my stomach drop. "Looking for something, Rachel?" she asks, and her voice has this sing-song quality that immediately puts me on edge. I turn around, clutching a handful of old journals, and really look at her for the first time in weeks. She's different somehow, more confident, wearing clothes I've never seen before. Expensive clothes that definitely didn't come from our shared closet or our parents' modest budget. "Emma, have you seen any mail for me? Anything from Harvard?" I ask, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. But she just laughs, this harsh sound that echoes off my bedroom walls. She takes a step into my room, closing the door behind her with a soft click that sounds way too final for comfort. "Oh, Rachel," she says, and reaches behind her back, pulling out something that makes my heart stop completely. It's an envelope, pristine white with the Harvard Medical School logo embossed in the corner, and she's holding it like it's the most casual thing in the world. "You mean this?" The room starts spinning around me, and I can barely breathe because that's it. That's my letter, my future, my entire life folded up in that piece of paper, and she's waving it around like it's a toy. "You've had it this whole time?" I whisper, and she nods, so matter-of-fact, so completely unbothered by the fact that she's been watching me fall apart for 3 months. 3 months, actually, she says, walking over to my bed and sitting down like she owns the place. "I've been reading it over and over, trying to figure out how someone like you managed to get accepted when someone like me got rejected." She opens the envelope, my envelope, and pulls out the letter, unfolding it with these deliberate, careful movements that make me want to scream. "You applied to Harvard too?" I ask, because this is the first I'm hearing about it, and Emma's smile gets wider, more vicious. "Business school," she says. "Got my rejection letter the same day your acceptance arrived. Funny how the mail works, isn't it? Sometimes letters get mixed up, sometimes they end up in the wrong hands, sometimes they disappear entirely." She's looking at me now with these cold, dead eyes that I don't recognise, and I realise I don't know my sister at all. I'm moving toward her now, my hands outstretched because I need that letter. I need to hold it and read it and make this nightmare real. "Give it to me, Emma. That's mine. You can't just take it." But she pulls it away, holding it above her head like we're children fighting over a toy. Except this isn't a game, and that piece of paper represents everything I've worked for since I was 12 years old. "Actually, Rachel, I think there's been a mistake. See, I'm going to Harvard now, not you." The words don't make sense at first, like she's speaking a foreign language, and I shake my head because this has to be some kind of sick joke. "What are you talking about? You can't just take my acceptance letter and pretend it's yours." That's when she pulls out her phone, fingers flying across the screen with this practiced efficiency that makes my blood run cold. She turns it toward me, showing me a screenshot of an email, and I have to read it 3 times before the words actually sink in. It's a confirmation email from Harvard Medical School, welcoming their newest incoming student, but the name at the top isn't mine. It's hers. Emma Richardson instead of Rachel Richardson. How is that even possible? I ask. But even as the words leave my mouth, I know the answer. Emma's always been the computer genius in our family, the one who could hack into anything if she put her mind to it. She rebuilt our family computer from scratch when she was 14. She's the one who fixes everyone's phones and tablets. She's the one who got into MIT's computer science program before transferring to community college because she said she wanted to stay closer to home. Identity theft is surprisingly easy when you know someone's social security number, their mother's maiden name, their first pet's name, their childhood address, she says, listing off my security questions like she's reading from a grocery list. Amazing how much personal information you can gather when you've lived with someone your entire life. I lunge for the phone, desperate to see what else she's done, but she's faster, jumping up from the bed and backing toward the door. You want to know the really beautiful part, Rachel? I didn't just steal your Harvard acceptance. I've been you for 3 months now. Your transcripts, your MCAT scores, your personal statement about wanting to help underserved communities, it's all mine now. Even your recommendation letters from Dr. Martinez and Professor Chen. The room is spinning around me, and I can barely stand because this isn't just about a stolen letter anymore. This is about my entire identity, my entire future, everything that makes me who I am. Why? Is all I can manage to say, and Emma's expression changes, becomes something darker, more desperate than I've ever seen. Because I'm tired of being Emma the disappointment, she says, and her voice cracks just slightly. Emma, who dropped out of MIT, Emma who's taking community college classes at 24, Emma who still lives in her childhood bedroom while her perfect little sister gets ready to become a doctor. Wow, guess what, Rachel? Now I get to be the perfect one, and you get to figure out what it feels like to be nobody. She's walking toward the door now, my letter, my future clutched in her hands, and something inside me snaps completely. This isn't just theft. This is the destruction of everything I've ever worked for, everything I've ever dreamed of, and I can't let her walk out of this room and steal my life. I don't remember making the decision to grab her. I just remember my hands on her shoulders, spinning her around, and the look of genuine surprise on her face when she realizes I'm not going to just let this happen. The letter falls to the floor between us, and we both dive for it at the same time, like our lives depend on that piece of paper, which I guess they do. But Emma's always been stronger than me, more athletic, and she gets there first, snatching up the letter and backing toward the stairs. Stay away from me, Rachel, she says, but there's fear in her voice now, and I realise she never expected me to fight back. Give me my letter, I say, following her out of my room and onto the landing at the top of our staircase. Give me my life back. That's when she smiles again, that cold, calculating smile that's been haunting me all night. What life, Rachel? As far as Harvard Medical School knows, you don't exist. I made sure of that. And that's when everything goes black. The first thing I notice when I wake up is the beeping. Steady, rhythmic, mechanical beeping that sounds like it's coming from inside my skull. My eyes feel like they've been glued shut, and when I finally manage to pry them open, the fluorescent lights above me are so bright they make me want to vomit. I'm in a hospital bed, surrounded by machines and tubes, and there's this crushing weight on my chest that has nothing to do with the oxygen mask covering my face. Rachel? Oh my God, Rachel, can you hear me? The voice is familiar, concerned, loving, and when I turn my head toward the sound, I see Emma sitting in a chair beside my bed. Her eyes are red-rimmed and puffy, like she's been crying for days, and she's clutching my hand like I'm the most precious thing in the world. For a split second, I almost believed the act. But then it all comes flooding back. The letter, the confrontation, her cold smile as she told me she'd stolen my entire identity. And something else, something that shouldn't be possible, but feels more real than anything I've ever experienced. I remember dying. I remember the feeling of falling, the crack of my skull against our marble foyer floor, the way the light faded from my eyes as Emma stood over me, still clutching my Harvard acceptance letter. "Where am I?" I managed to croak through the oxygen and mask, and Emma immediately presses the call button, her face lighting up with what looks like genuine relief. "St. Mary's Hospital," she says, squeezing my hand tighter. "You've been unconscious for 6 weeks, Rachel. You fell down the stairs, hit your head. The doctors weren't sure if you were going to wake up." Her voice breaks on the last words, and if I didn't know better, I'd think she actually cared about me. A nurse bustles in, followed by a doctor who looks like he hasn't slept in days. They start checking my vitals, shining lights in my eyes, asking me questions about my name and the date and whether I remember what happened. I tell them what I remember, arguing with Emma, following her to the stairs. But I leave out the part about her pushing me. Not yet. Not until I figure out exactly what I'm dealing with here. "You're very lucky, Miss Richardson," the doctor says, making notes on his clipboard. "You suffered a severe traumatic brain injury. We weren't sure you'd wake up at all, let alone with your cognitive functions intact." He pauses, studying my chart. "Your sister here has been by your bedside every single day. She barely left the hospital for the first 2 weeks. I look at Emma, and she gives me this watery smile that would fool anyone who didn't know the truth. "I was so scared I was going to lose you," she whispers, and I have to bite my tongue to keep from screaming. After the medical team leaves, Emma and I are alone again, and the mask slips just slightly. "I'm so glad you're okay, Rachel," she says, but there's something calculating in her eyes now. "I was worried you might remember things differently than they actually happened. Head injuries can cause false memories sometimes." "What things?" I ask, playing dumb, but she just shakes her head. "Nothing important. You were just upset about some college applications before your accident. You were acting pretty irrationally, actually. Mum and Dad were worried about you." She's watching me carefully now, looking for signs that I remember the truth, and I force my face to remain neutral. Over the next few days, as my strength slowly returns, I start putting the pieces together. Emma visits every day, playing the devoted sister perfectly for the nurses and doctors. She brings me flowers and magazines, reads to me from books I used to love, tells me stories about what I've missed while I was unconscious. But what she doesn't know is that I remember everything from my previous life, including things that happened after I died. I remember watching from somewhere outside my body as Emma calmly called 911, sobbing into the phone about how she'd found me at the bottom of the stairs. I remember her carefully placing my Harvard letter back in my room, making it look like I'd never found it in the first place. I remember her deleting emails from my computer and changing passwords on my accounts. And most importantly, I remember her practicing her acceptance speech in the mirror, the speech she was planning to give as me at Harvard's incoming class orientation. "Emma," I say on her 4th visit when I'm finally strong enough to sit up without help. "What happened with college? Did I ever hear back from Harvard?" Her face falls and she reaches over to squeeze my hand sympathetically. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. The rejection letter came while you were in the hospital. I didn't want to tell you while you were still recovering, but..." She trails off, shaking her head sadly. "What about you? Didn't you apply places too?" I ask, and she brightens considerably. "Actually, yes. I got into Harvard's medical program. Can you believe it? I mean, I know it's not exactly what I planned originally, but after seeing how much medicine means to our family, especially after your accident..." She's good, I'll give her that. The way she's spinning this story sounds like she's honouring me by taking my place. "That's amazing, Emma. When do you start?" I ask, and she practically glows with pride. Next week, actually. There's this orientation for incoming students, and they asked me to give the keynote speech. Me. Can you imagine? She's so excited she can barely contain herself, and I realise this is it. This is her moment of triumph, the culmination of everything she's stolen from me. A keynote speech? What are you going to talk about? I ask innocently. Oh, just about overcoming adversity, finding your passion later in life, that sort of thing. The admissions committee was really impressed with my story. Our story, she means. My story that she's stolen and twisted into her own narrative of success. That night, after Emma leaves, I start planning. The beautiful thing about being legally dead for 6 weeks is that no one expects you to know anything about what's been happening in the outside world. But I do know. I know that Emma has been living my life, attending my orientation sessions, meeting my future classmates. I know that she set up new email accounts and social media profiles using my credentials. And I know that she thinks she's gotten away with murder. But here's what she doesn't know. Before I died, I had contingency plans. Call it paranoia or call it preparation. But growing up with Emma as a sister taught me to always have backup plans. I'd set up hidden cameras in our house after some of my things started going missing months ago. I'd made copies of all my important documents and stored them in a safety deposit box that only I knew about. And most importantly, I'd sent a detailed letter to my advisor at the community college where I'd been taking prerequisite courses, explaining some concerns I'd been having about identity theft in our family. The letter was supposed to be opened only if something happened to me, and according to the timestamp on my email account that I finally regained access to, it was opened 3 days ago, which means Dr. Sarah Martinez, my favourite professor and the one person who knew about my Harvard dreams, now knows exactly what Emma has done. As I lay in my hospital bed that night, staring at the ceiling tiles and listening to the steady beep of my heart monitor, I start to smile for the first time since I woke up. Emma thinks she's won. She thinks she's successfully stolen my identity, my future, my entire life. Tomorrow, she's going to walk onto that stage at Harvard Medical School and give her keynote speech to an auditorium full of people who believe she's earned her place there. But what she doesn't know is that Dr. Martinez has been making some calls. What she doesn't know is that the FBI has a whole department dedicated to identity theft cases involving educational institutions. And what she really doesn't know is that tomorrow, instead of giving her triumphant speech, she's going to find me sitting in the front row of that auditorium, very much alive with a presentation of my own. Because if Emma wants to play games with stolen identities and attempted murder, she's about to learn that some games have consequences she never saw coming. And after 6 weeks of being dead, I'm more than ready to show her exactly what those consequences look like. I discharge myself from the hospital at 5 a.m, 3 hours before Emma is supposed to give her keynote speech. The nurses try to stop me, saying I need more observation time, but I sign every waiver they put in front of me because nothing is going to keep me from being in that auditorium today. My legs are shaky and my head still pounds with every step, but the fire burning in my chest gives me strength I didn't know I had. The first stop is the safety deposit box at First National Bank, where I retrieve everything I'll need: copies of my real transcripts, my original Harvard acceptance letter, and, most importantly, the USB drive containing footage from the hidden cameras I'd installed in our house. My hands tremble as I hold that tiny piece of plastic, knowing it contains evidence of Emma pushing me down those stairs, evidence that will destroy her life the same way she tried to destroy mine. Dr. Martinez meets me in the parking lot of Harvard Medical School at 7:30, her face pale with worry when she sees me. "Rachel, what are you doing here? You should be in the hospital," she says, rushing to steady me when I stumble getting out of the taxi. "I need to be here, Dr. Martinez. Today is the day Emma pays for everything she's done." I show her the USB drive, and her eyes widen as she realizes what it contains. Are you absolutely sure about this? Once we expose her in front of all these people, there's no going back. Her life will be over, she says, and I can hear the concern in her voice. Her life? I laugh, and it comes out harsh and bitter. She tried to murder me, Sarah. She stole my identity, my future, everything I've worked for since I was 12 years old. Her life was over the moment she decided mine was disposable. We make our way into the medical school building, and Dr. Martinez uses her faculty connections to get us into the AV control room, overlooking the main auditorium. Through the glass, I can see hundreds of incoming medical students filing into their seats, chattering excitedly about their new journey. They have no idea they're about to witness the destruction of someone who should have been their classmate. At 8:45, Emma walks onto the stage, and I have to grip the railing to keep from falling over. She's wearing my dress, the navy blue one I bought specifically for interviews, the one that made me feel confident and professional. She styled her hair the way I always wore mine for important events, and from this distance, she could actually pass for me. The audacity of it takes my breath away. "Good morning, future doctors," Emma says into the microphone, her voice carrying perfectly through the auditorium sound system. "My name is Rachel Richardson, and I'm honoured to be your keynote speaker today." The lie rolls off her tongue so smoothly, so confidently, that I almost believe she believes it herself. She launches into her speech, my speech, the one I'd written and rewritten dozens of times during my application process. She talks about overcoming adversity, about finding strength in the face of rejection, about the importance of perseverance in medical school. Every word is stolen from essays I'd written, from personal statements I'd crafted with my heart and soul, and she's delivering them like they're her own experiences. "Many of you have faced rejection along your path to medical school," she continues, pacing across the stage with practiced confidence. "I certainly did. But what I learned is that rejection isn't the end of your story, it's just the beginning of a new chapter." That's when Dr. Martinez nods to the AV technician, and suddenly the large screens flanking the stage light up with my real transcripts, my real MCAT scores, my real acceptance letter. Emma stops mid-sentence, staring at the screens in confusion, and I can see the exact moment she realises what's happening. I step out from the control room and onto the stage, my hospital bracelet still around my wrist, my hair unwashed and my clothes wrinkled, but I've never felt more powerful in my life. The auditorium goes completely silent as 500 people try to process what they're seeing. 2 women who look almost identical, one in professional attire and one who clearly just escaped from a hospital bed. "Hello, Emma," I say into my own microphone, and my voice echoes through the stunned silence. Or should I say, "Hello, fake Rachel Richardson"? Emma's face goes white, then red, then white again. "Rachel, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in the hospital. You're not well, you're confused," she says, but her voice is shaking now and everyone can hear it. "I'm confused," I laugh, and it's a sound I don't recognise from my own throat. Let me clear up the confusion for everyone here. My name is Rachel Richardson, and this woman standing next to me is my sister Emma, who has been impersonating me for the past 3 months after stealing my Harvard acceptance letter. The murmur that goes through the crowd is like nothing I've ever heard. 500 voices whispering at once, creating this wave of sound that seems to wash over the stage. Emma's eyes are darting around wildly now, looking for an escape route, but there isn't one. "That's not true," she says, but her voice cracks on the words. "Rachel had a traumatic brain injury. She's having delusions. I'm Rachel Richardson. I have my identification right here." She fumbles in her purse, pulling out a driver's license, but I'm already 1 step ahead of her. "Yes, you do have identification," I say, walking closer to her. "Identification you created using my stolen identity. But what you don't have, Emma, is this." I hold up my real driver's license, the one that was in my wallet when the paramedics brought me to the hospital. "Or this." I show the hospital bracelet with my name and date of birth. Or this. I pull up my sleeve, revealing a scar on my forearm from a childhood accident that Emma doesn't have. The Dean of Admissions has appeared on stage now, flanked by security guards, and I can see FBI agents moving through the crowd. Dr. Martinez wasn't kidding when she said she'd made some calls. "There's more," I say, and nod to the AV technician again. The screens change, and suddenly we're looking at security footage from our family home. Grainy, but clear enough to see Emma pushing me down the stairs. Clear enough to see her calmly stepping over my unconscious body to retrieve the Harvard letter from where it had fallen. The gasps from the audience are audible now, and Emma stumbles backward, shaking her head frantically. "That's not what happened," she says, but her voice is barely a whisper. "Rachel, please, we're sisters. We can work this out." "Sisters?" I advance on her, and she backs away until she's at the very edge of the stage. "Sisters don't try to murder each other, Emma. Sisters don't steal each other's identities. Sisters don't spend 3 months pretending to grieve while secretly celebrating their sister's death." The FBI agents are on stage now, and one of them is reading Emma her rights, while another gently escorts me to a chair. My legs are shaking again, and I realise the adrenaline that's been carrying me through this confrontation is starting to wear off. Emma is handcuffed now, but she's still staring at me with those cold, calculating eyes. "How?" she whispers as they lead her past me. "How did you know about the cameras? How did you plan all this?" I lean back in my chair and smile, the first genuine smile I've felt since I woke up in that hospital bed. Because, unlike you, Emma, I never underestimated my sister. I knew you were capable of anything, so I prepared for everything. As they lead her away, I hear her screaming that I'm the crazy one, that this is all some elaborate delusion brought on by my brain injury. But her protests fade as the auditorium doors close behind her, and, suddenly, I'm surrounded by 500 future doctors who are looking at me like I'm some kind of hero. But the real satisfaction comes 20 minutes later when the Dean of Admissions personally hands me my official Harvard Medical School acceptance packet and welcomes me to the incoming class. Because in the end, justice isn't just about punishing the guilty. It's about reclaiming what was always rightfully yours. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a courtroom watching Emma's lawyer present her defense, and something feels wrong. Not wrong, like I'm having second thoughts about destroying my sister's life. She deserves everything that's coming to her. Wrong, like there's a piece of this puzzle I'm missing, something that's been nagging at the back of my mind since the day I exposed her at Harvard. Emma looks different now. Prison orange doesn't suit her, and the confident woman who stole my identity has been replaced by someone hollow-eyed and broken. But when she looks at me across the courtroom, there's something in her expression that I can't quite read. Not hatred, not even resignation. Something that almost looks like pity. Her lawyer is good. I'll give him that. He's arguing that Emma suffered a psychotic break after years of living in my shadow, that the pressure of academic failure drove her to desperate measures. He's painting her as a victim of circumstance, a troubled young woman who made terrible choices but doesn't deserve to have her life destroyed. But then he says something that makes my blood freeze. "Your Honour, my client has been undergoing extensive psychological evaluation during her time in custody, and we've discovered some troubling inconsistencies in the state's case, specifically regarding the security footage that was used as evidence against her." I lean forward in my seat, my heart starting to race, because I know that footage is rock solid. I watched Emma push me down those stairs with my own eyes, both in real time and on the recording. There's no inconsistency. The lawyer continues. "Upon close examination by digital forensics experts, we've determined that the timestamp on the security footage has been altered. The incident allegedly occurred on March 15th at 11:47 p.m. but the metadata shows the original timestamp was March 15th at 11:23 p.m, a full 24 minutes earlier. 24 minutes. I'm trying to figure out why that matters when another memory surfaces, something I'd completely forgotten about. At 11:23 p.m. on March 15th, I was still in my bedroom, tearing it apart looking for my acceptance letter. Emma didn't come upstairs until almost midnight, which means... Furthermore, the lawyer says, we have cell phone records showing that Miss Emma Richardson was on a phone call with her friend Jennifer Walsh from 11:20 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. that evening, making it impossible for her to have been upstairs with her sister at the time shown in the allegedly unaltered footage. The courtroom is spinning around me, and I grip the edge of the bench to keep from falling over. If Emma was on the phone downstairs when the timestamp says I was pushed, then who was in that video? Who was wearing Emma's clothes? Who had Emma's build? Who pushed me down those stairs? That's when I see her. In the back of the courtroom, partially hidden behind a pillar, is Dr. Sarah Martinez, my trusted advisor, my ally in exposing Emma, the woman who helped me orchestrate this entire revenge plot. She's watching the proceedings with an expression I've never seen before, intense, focused, almost hungry. And that's when the final piece of the puzzle clicks into place. Dr. Martinez had keys to our house. I'd given them to her months ago when she was helping me with college applications and needed to pick up documents while I was at work. Dr. Martinez knew about my hidden cameras because I told her about them when I was paranoid about Emma stealing my things. Dr. Martinez had access to the footage, had the technical skills to alter timestamps, and most importantly, Dr. Martinez looked enough like Emma from behind to fool a grainy security camera. But why? Why would my trusted mentor, my academic advisor, the woman who'd guided me through my pre-med requirements, want to frame Emma for attempted murder? The answer comes to me in a rush of memories I'd somehow suppressed. Dr. Martinez recommending that I apply to Harvard specifically. Dr. Martinez insisting that I shouldn't tell my family about my acceptance until I was sure it was real. Dr. Martinez suggesting that I set up those security cameras in the first place. Dr. Martinez, who just happened to have the perfect connections to help me expose Emma publicly. My phone buzzes with a text message, and when I look down, my hand starts shaking so badly, I almost drop it. Meet me at the old chemistry lab after the hearing. We need to talk. S. I look back toward the pillar where Dr. Martinez was standing, but she's gone, vanished like she was never there at all. The hearing continues around me, but I can't focus on anything except the terrible realization that's settling over me like a suffocating blanket. 3 hours later, I'm standing in the abandoned chemistry lab at the community college, the same place where Dr. Martinez first encouraged me to pursue medicine, the same place where we planned my revenge against Emma. She's waiting for me in the shadows, and when she steps into the light, she looks different somehow, older, more tired, but also more satisfied than I've ever seen her. You figured it out, she says, and it's not a question. You pushed me down those stairs, I whisper, and she nods like she's proud of me for solving the puzzle. I did, and then I altered the security footage to frame Emma, orchestrated your entire revenge plot, and watched you destroy your sister's life for a crime she didn't commit. She's smiling now, this cold, clinical smile that makes my skin crawl. The question is, Rachel, what are you going to do about it? Why? Is all I can manage to say, and her smile gets wider. Because Emma was right about one thing. You really were the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect test scores, perfect future. But do you know what you also were, Rachel? Predictable, malleable, easy to manipulate. She starts pacing around the lab like she's giving a lecture. I spent 2 years carefully planting suggestions in your mind, making you paranoid about Emma, encouraging your rivalry with her, setting up the perfect storm that would lead to this moment. The room is spinning again, and I have to lean against a lab table to keep from falling. But Emma did steal my acceptance letter. She was going to Harvard pretending to be me. Oh yes, Emma absolutely stole your identity. That part was real, and frankly, it made my job much easier. I just helped things along by giving her the idea in the first place. Dr. Martinez pulls out a folder and shows me printed emails between her and Emma. Conversations where she's subtly suggesting ways to access college applications, ways to assume someone else's identity for school admissions. You manipulated both of us, I breathe, and she claps her hands together like I've just solved a particularly challenging equation. Brilliant, isn't it? I turned two sisters against each other, orchestrated a perfect murder, framed the innocent one for attempted murder, and helped the other one commit the perfect revenge. And the beautiful part, Rachel, is that you did it all willingly. You wanted Emma destroyed so badly that you never questioned the evidence I provided, never wondered how everything fell into place so perfectly. I'm staring at her in horror, trying to understand what kind of person could orchestrate something so elaborate and cruel. But why? What did you possibly have to gain from this? Her expression changes then, becomes something darker and more personal. Because 25 years ago, I had a sister too. A sister who stole my boyfriend, my job prospects, my entire life, just like Emma stole yours. But I never got my revenge, Rachel. I never got to watch her suffer the way she made me suffer. She's crying now, but they're tears of satisfaction, not sadness. Through you, I finally got to see what justice looks like. I reach for my phone to call 911 to report what she's just confessed. But she's faster than me, grabbing my wrist with surprising strength. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Rachel, because if you expose me, you'll have to admit that you knowingly helped frame an innocent woman for attempted murder. Emma's already served 6 months in prison for something she didn't do. How do you think a jury will react when they find out you were complicit in destroying your sister's life based on fabricated evidence? She's right, and we both know it. If I expose Dr. Martinez, I expose myself as either a co-conspirator or a complete fool. Either way, Emma's conviction gets overturned, and I'm the one who ends up in prison. So, here's what's going to happen, Dr. Martinez says, releasing my wrist and straightening her jacket like nothing happened. You're going to go to Harvard, become the doctor you always dreamed of being, and live with the knowledge that your success is built on your sister's destroyed life. And I'm going to disappear, finally satisfied that I got to watch someone else get the revenge I never could. She walks toward the door, then pauses and turns back to me one last time. Oh, and Rachel, Emma really did love you? All those years you thought she was jealous and competitive? She was actually trying to protect you from people like me. Too bad you were too blinded by ambition to see it. And then she's gone, leaving me alone in that empty lab with the crushing realization that I've destroyed my innocent sister's life, all for the entertainment of a psychopath who saw us as nothing more than pieces in her twisted game of revenge. The real question now isn't whether Emma will ever forgive me. It's whether I'll ever be able to forgive myself for being so easy to manipulate, that I became the weapon someone else used to destroy my own family. But here's the thing about revenge. Once you get a taste for it, it's hard to stop. And Dr. Sarah Martinez has no idea what kind of monster she's created by teaching me exactly how satisfying it feels to watch someone's life fall apart. She thinks she's won, thinks she's outsmarted me one final time. But she forgot the most important lesson she ever taught me. Sometimes the best revenge is the one your enemy never sees coming. And I've got the rest of my life to plan hers.